Hello and welcome to Andy's Little Sci-Fi Horror Show. My name's Andy. This is my little 10-minute window to the rest of the world. I'm here hanging on the armadillo, and my cell phone just reminded me... My cell phone has reminded me that there is a comic book show today in Woburn. So, I am on my way to the comic book show. Let's close things up here. There is a common misconception that Hollywood hasn't been able to make a good comic book film.
Why can't Hollywood ever make a decent comic book movie?
Tell him, Steve Dave.
Would you stop saying that?
I don't know if that's exactly true, but what you gotta consider when you're making a movie, your movie is really only going to be as good as your source material. On our way. Batteries to power, turbines to speed. Despite the popular beliefs, there have been some good comic book movies. Superman, for example, Tim Burton's Batman, even the Adam West Batman, if you're into the camp, The Watchmen, 300. These are all great interpretations from a comic book or graphic novel material. Hey, I would dare say there are comic book movies out there, 5 of them that come to my mind, at least, that if not are equal to the original material in comic book, if not better. Case in point, Robert Rodriguez directs Frank Miller's Sin City.
Goldie's dead. I've been framed for murder, and the cops are in on it.
Open up, police.
I'll be right out. Looking for Nancy Callahan?
Eyes to the stage, Pilgrim. She's just warming up.
Made a terrible mistake. We need to get out of here right this second.
This clown's out of control. I followed him here to make sure he didn't hurt any of the girls.
Us helpless little girls.
It's time to prove to your friends that you're worth a damn. Sometimes that means dying. Sometimes it means killing a whole lot of people. Walk down the right back alley in Sin City, and you can find anything.
Now that you cannot argue that is a brilliant interpretation of the graphic novel and or comic book Sin City. It went as far as to like aesthetically copy it black and white, just like the comic books, with this red being the color, the primary color. It's amazing. Even Frank Miller himself, the icon comic book god Frank Miller, Dark Knight Rises, and Sin City, himself said that he could not have created a better movie interpretation of his own material, Sin City. When you have a statement like that on your side, you have got gold. This is a case where you had a brilliant filmmaker bringing to life the work of a brilliant comic book artist. I mean, it was, whether you like it or not, you cannot deny that it is an amazing interpretation of the source material. We gotta stop and get some sustenance. I know we're on the road a lot. What can you do? 'Tis the season. Pumpkin coffee. We are now parking in a no parking zone, and this may be as good a time as any to bring up number 4 on my list: Men in Black.
We are the best kept secret in the universe. Our mission is to monitor extraterrestrial activity on Earth. We are your best, last, and only line of defense. We work in secret. We exist in shadow.
And we dress in black.
Now, many of you may not even realize, I've heard this before, that Men in Black was actually a comic book series before it became a movie. And when they made it into a movie, of course, they got Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, two amazing actors who fit the part perfectly. They wasn't trying to squeeze in some big name for no reason. But they had a huge budget, they did it right, they had Danny Elfman's score, and it was just a great film. I wouldn't have been my first choice out of a random selection of movies, comic books to make into a movie, but you know, they had the foresight that I didn't. Now, taking on a whole different flavor of this conversation, I'm on my way to the comic book show, and we're still talking about movies that have been turned from comics that are, if not better, are at least as good as the original source material, which is the original comic. This next example I have, I feel, is one of those cases where the movie, yes, without a doubt, is indeed better than the source material. What I mean by better, I mean like if the movie is entertaining, well done. For the most part, a lot of these movies are better just because they're live action. It's always fun to see someone's interpretation of what these comic book characters would look like if they were brought to life. And a great example of a movie that's better than the comic book source, I'm talking about one of my all-time personal favorites, Josie and the Pussycats.
Entertainment Weekly raves Josie rocks. It's the sexiest, sassiest, most stylish movie of the year. Yes. Fun, fun, fun. It's perfect.
We will always be friends first.
Irresistible, hilarious. It's Charlie's Angels meets Austin Powers.
I knew there was a reason you were so popular.
A sexy, cool comedy. You'll have the time of your life. Josie and the Pussycats.
The comic book is iconic, it's great, yes. The Archies, you cannot ignore their value and their place in the comic book world. They will always be there. And until they make a live-action Archies movies, we have Josie and the Pussycats. It was a very pleasant surprise on my part. And I'll tell you this is a pretty funny story, true one too. I went to the theater to see Josie and the Pussycats back when I used to go to the movies. I don't go to the movies anymore. And while I was there in the concession line, and I met someone I knew, I will save him the embarrassment of his name. He goes, "So what are you here for?" And I told him, you know, I'm here to see Josie and the Pussycats. And honestly, God, he goes, "That is so gay." And I'm thinking, and I didn't say anything. I'm thinking, oh, okay. I was a little bit shocked by that. And I said, all right, well, you know, he was hanging with his buddies. He said, well, what are you here to see? And he said, Freddie got fingered. And I just shot him the look. And I'll never forget it because it's one of the few times in my life where I actually won an argument without saying a word. Anyways, Josie and the Pussycats, three live action, three beautiful young actresses, fit the parts perfectly. The story was solid, the humor was solid, it was a good message for the age group that the movie was intended to be for. It was just a all-around good time movie. And looking back on these source material of the Josie and the Pussycats comic books and the other Archies where they were guest stars and things like that, yeah, I think that is safe to say that is one of the examples where the movie took the source material and one-upped it. They did a good job with that.